So I'm currently at Decathlon. Just bought my first Decathlon Stilus E-ST. So it's my first full sus electric mountain bike. Also my first YouTube video, so bear with me. However, I noticed when I went to watch the videos that there weren't any. So yeah, here goes. Try and give my not so expert knowledge and hopefully give you an insight into the bike, so that you can decide whether or not you want to spend £2,800 on it, like I have, because it's been a risk. But we'll see how we get on. And here it is. I was worried about the colour to begin with. I was worried it was a girly colour. However, actually, it's not. It looks banging. I think I'm going to be well happy with this. So yeah, let's get out of the shop because I'm getting some funny looks, and I'll do a little bit more when I get home. So, it's been a week that I've had the Decathlon Stilus E-ST. I'm only out on my second ride, so I went out early doors Saturday morning, just for a short ride, get a feel for the bike, and I'm back out again now. So, I mean, long day at work, and you get home and obviously you're tired from work, but the thought of getting on your mountain bike and going to do a trail is terrifying when you're tired. However, I didn't get that feeling getting onto my mountain bike, because it takes the rubbish bit out of mountain biking away, the horrible hills. I mean, some people love a good hill, and if you love a good hill, then it's got the various settings on it, so you can do those hills and hurt by the end of it if you want. But then also it's got the higher end settings, which is, to be honest, where I sit because I'm a bit lazy. Kind of, you know, the turbo setting, and it just puts the fun back into it. It really does. So anyway, less of me kind of rabbiting on, because you're here to see the bike. So I'm currently out in the middle of bleeding nowhere. I have no idea where I am. Haven't seen anyone for quite a while. But exactly that is the beauty of the e-bike. I've just gone out and here I am. So and I'll find my way home, because I've got the power in the bike to do it, really. And I suppose I might have a little bit of power left in my legs. So yeah, it's going well. So anyway, the bike. I've got a dog walker coming, so I will hold it here. I'll be back in a second. So, sorry about that, the bike. So, I mean, I've been looking around bike shop. I mean, I've been after an e-mountain bike for a long time. And I was after the normal Decathlon Stilus, so the £3,500 one that I think was more like 2,728 this time last year. And of course it was very popular, so they ramped the price up. So I mean, that comes with RockShox forks, I think it's a RockShox rear shock, it's got a dropper seat, etc. This one hasn't got some of that gear, hence why this is 2,800 rather than the 3,500 that it is at the moment. However, I mean, for 700 quid, I'm quite happy with the gear that I've got. I'm not a hardcore cyclist, and unless it's really going to make that much difference to you, I mean, I'd rather 700 quid in my pocket and maybe have a little bit of a firmer ride, because I think the front forks might be spring. Don't quote me on it. I'm not, as I said in my first part of the video, I'm not an expert in them, but I think they're spring. And of course they're also Sun Tour rather than your RockShox or even any Fox or anything Gucci. I mean, they look quite nice, and the cushioning, anything that I've certainly hit, so quite happy with those. Then the rear shock, Sun Tour Radon. Don't know much about it. So what I would say with that is, when I was in Decathlon, they pumped it up again. Don't know much about it. I can't help thinking they've pumped it up too much, because it's felt like riding a hardtail, quite frankly. I've not got any sort of comfort, but you can barely see any movement where the shock has moved, and therefore moved any dirt up a bit. I mean, I can see possibly a little bit once or twice, but certainly not a great deal. So that might be something to look at. I didn't know the maths on how to work out what the PSI going into that is, even if it is PSI, some sort of pressure, I'd imagine. So maybe go in there if you're looking at buying one of these and you do go to pick it up, maybe do your stuff before you go in there, and it's all to do with your weight and stuff. So that's how much the PSI that go in it corresponds with how much you weigh and how tall you are, etc. So something I have picked up on, and I mean, when you read the reviews, I think most of the reviews on there at the moment, and I'll try and add mine at some point so you get one in English, most of them are in foreign, all different European languages. I mean, you can press translate and generally get the general gist of it, and certainly the gist that I got from the bike, from those reviews, was the the seat post. So I am 5'11", so I am slap bang in the middle of being appropriate size for a large frame. So that's exactly what this is. However, that seat post is on the lowest it will possibly go, and the reason for that is obviously it kinks here. So I mean, I would say I thought it was too high for me. I was concerned about certain parts of the male anatomy going over rocks that might get bashed by that. I mean, so far it hasn't been too bad, but I do worry that anyone at 5'10", even 5'9", I'm fairly sure says that a large frame would be suitable for, that is going to be far too high. I mean, I'm on my tiptoes. So when I was in the shop, they said the only way that you could do it is to saw this down here. Probably not that high, you know, saw it down so you get a little bit more to play with. But I mean, when you're spending £2,800 on a bike you've not ridden yet, and you see matey boy walk off and put part of it under an angle guide or whatever he's going to use, it's a bit terrifying. The motor, so I don't think, again, the motor's not quite the same standard that's in the normal Stilus. However, we've got Bosch, which I've only ever ridden Bosches, because when I've rented them and stuff, they've only ever been Bosch, so I was quite keen to stay Bosch. I'd imagine they all do similar sort of thing, but I mean, I've had no problems with this whatsoever. Neat little display. So of course, I mean, it was a little bit complicated changing it to miles per hour from kilometres an hour, etc. It does explain it in the book, but I mean, it's a series of buttons, etc. But you can work it out. So I mean, if you're not familiar with the Bosch setup, you've got a few different settings. So turbo, that does something like 300% on top of what you're doing. So to be honest, your legs go round once. I think the pedals will then go round kind of, you know, they push you 300% more. So you save that really if you're absolutely blown at the end of your trip, or you're on a really, really sharp hill. But I mean, of course, your range starts to go down then. So then e-mountain bike. So this one tailors how much it's using, how much energy it's using to how much you require. So generally, that's what I sit on. It feels quite good, really. Where when you don't need the power, it's not there, and then when you start to lag when you're going up that long hill, it starts to kick in. So that's quite nice. Tour, I don't really know what that does. I'm yet to use it, but again, the range goes up slightly, so I'd imagine it's just using less power. And then eco, so I mean, that's going to give me an 18-mile range on eco, compared to when it's on turbo, you're looking at an 8-mile range. And I mean, that does start to go down. It goes down quite quickly. All of a sudden you're 8 miles to 5 or 6 miles when you start going up a hill. But yeah, so far so good. All disc brakes, very, very sharp. Not had any problems with those. Something I'm not too keen on is, although they're 29-inch wheels, and obviously they're probably get mocked in the comments. Is it Schwalbe? Something like that. That word. This word here. Which I believe is quite a good brand of tyre. I've used them before, not had any problems, but they feel thin. I don't know if you'll agree. Might be hard to tell from the video, but they feel a little bit thin. And I mean, I have got my pressures quite high, don't get me wrong, because I have been on the road today as well, but you do feel like you hit rocks quite hard and you bounce back off of them rather than going over them, like I have on some of the thicker tyres that I've used in the past. Charging the battery, absolutely no problem whatsoever. You get a little key. I think it's on the other side. You get a, there we go, See, locks in place, and you can either take the battery out, which to be honest I wouldn't recommend, because getting it back in was not particularly easy. So then you've got a little port here, so if you wanted to plug it in, if you've got a, you know, you've got a plug socket near where you're keeping the bike, it'd be ideal. Just plug it straight into the bike rather than resting on the battery, because I mean the battery is pretty much as long as the tube. You have to squeeze it in there, and it is heavy as well. It's heavy while you're trying to fight with it and work out what way it goes in, because you've forgotten from when you took it out. But yeah, I think probably going to end the video there. I would suggest you get it. I really do. And I say that, I mean, of course you don't want to have a mainstream bike that everyone's got, but I would recommend that you get it. It is an absolutely brilliant bike. I've loved it so far. I've only done 50-60 miles, so this isn't an expert opinion, and when it breaks after 400 or 500 I might regret making this video, you know, and say you should have kept your £2,800. However, I love it, absolutely love it, and it's a worthwhile purchase, because look at where I've managed to come. I wouldn't be here if I was just on a hard time after day at work. No chance. So yeah, any questions, ping them in the comments. As I said, I'm new to YouTube, go easy on me. I'm sure I've got a couple of bits wrong, I'm sure I've pronounced things wrong. Please don't mock me, it's all learning. Thanks very much, bye bye.